It finally happened. The Chicago Bears fired Matt Eberflus somehow 2 hours after they let him talk to the media. We'll get into that later. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. It has finally ended. That is the word of the day. Finally. Spam finally in the chat. It is over. We don't have to watch him parade the sidelines anymore. The Bears have made a change. Thomas Brown is going to take over as the interim head coach. And better late than never. I got to be honest. I want to tell you guys about my morning. So I'm waiting like you guys are because we all knew that this scheduled presser was 9 a.m. It was a couple minutes later, like, is he going to talk? Is he not? He ultimately does. And you're just thinking, you're like, there's just no way. They're not going to get rid of him. How could you possibly, after what we all witnessed and what the whole country saw on Thanksgiving, give him another chance? And then 2 hours after he talks to the media, he gets fired. I'm literally car fully packed, 19-month-old son strapped into his car seat, wife riding shotgun. I'm opening the door to my car to drive 3 hours west to go visit our side of the family for Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving in the next couple days, and I get bombarded with the notifications. Pretty incredible. Only the Bears, but we're here. I postponed my drive to my hometown by a few hours. We'll go in a little bit because that's what we do, Cullen Brown, who always also drove in on a holiday weekend. Shout out to Sea Breezy. I want to shout out producer Tech, some other people behind the scenes as well, getting this ready to go because I had to unpack some things, get the video out, drive into the studio, but we're ready to rock. We're ready to roll, and it's happened. It actually happened, Cullen. I told you yesterday, I think it's 50-50, if not a little higher. It felt different. It's like you just cannot possibly. I know you've never done it. I get all that.
Yep.
That was beyond a final straw. That was like, okay, we've given you a couple extra straws. You're done. It's over.
100%. And, I mean, I said during the live show yesterday that, like, I didn't think it was going to happen because I felt like the Bears, if they were going to fire him, they would have done it already before the season, after the Washington Hail Mary fiasco. Like, so many different instances.
The Patriots no-show.
Exactly. Like, you could have pointed to that. You said, hey, this is the end of Matt Eberflus, and they didn't do it. And then the fact, we were talking in our, work kind of group chat earlier, Matt Eberflus, they let him talk in front of the media.
And that still gives me concern, by the way. Like, there's no way you decided in between that presser and when you fired him that you fired him. Now, maybe you had to get some ducks in a row. You had to finalize the interim decision, the statements and all that stuff. Just scrap the press conference. Like, sure, that's going to lead to speculation for an hour or two if that's what needs to happen. Like, if you have to get your ducks in a row. But, and look, I'm not saying I feel bad for Eberflus, but in this isolated thing, it's pretty disrespectful. Like, he doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve to have to go up there this morning. He literally said, I'm fully confident I'm going to be the one preparing us for San Francisco. And then within 2 hours, he's fired. Like, that's just unnecessary. And so I do think there are leadership questions in the organization that are still very valid because a real organization would not have operated like that. You did the right thing ultimately. You get kind of a small check mark for that, even though it's way too late, and especially today, a couple hours too late. But that's pretty bad process, man. Like, I can't defend that from the Bears. And at the end of the day, like I've always said this, Flus seems like a nice guy. You don't treat it as someone like that. That's not what you do. So, it is what it is. It's over now. Now the focus is Thomas Brown. He gets a 5-week audition here. I don't think this is your typical interim situation. I think Adam John's already put out there. Team source says they chose to make Brown the interim because they want to see if he's a viable head coach candidate. This isn't Rizzy in New Orleans, or any interim over the years. I know Antonio Pierce got the head coaching gig, but this is a real candidate who's had head coaching interviews, and now they're going to give him a shot. Obviously, they're going to take a look at some other guys, but it's finally over for Matt Eberflus. Wish him well in the future. And for the Bears, please get your heads on straight here and get this thing right, because you've got a golden opportunity here with this young quarterback. More thoughts coming up, but we do have to get to our sponsor, PrizePicks. We appreciate PrizePicks for sponsoring us throughout the weekend here, our watch party now, our breaking news stream as well. Get in on the action. Daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you set your first lineup of just $5. Doesn't matter if you win that entry, you are still going to get $50 for free. A lot of football coming up this weekend. If you want to get in on some football action, you can get on some basketball as well. Other sports available. I got Jaden Daniels less on his passing yards. He's been trending south in recent weeks. Tennessee's defense is pretty solid. Bo Nix has been trending up, so I took the more on his passing yards. 5 to win 15 there. But again, win or lose, you're still going to get that $50 bonus into your account when you sign up and create a new account for new customers only at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. So what are you waiting for? Get started with PrizePicks today. Link is in the live chat of this stream. All right. If you guys want to get in on – oh, look at this. We're one there. Subscriber away from 110,000. We see Super Chats. We're hanging out for a while. If you guys want to get your Super Chats in, we'll get to statements made. Hey!
Let's go!
110. Shout out to the real ones here. Colin, you can have the Slack honors on that one. I'll leave that to you. Appreciate all of you. 110,000. Show the Brisker tweet. We may have to. Yeah. We may have to show the Brisker tweet. He's I don't want to say out of control, but this is this is a bit much.
No,
like
sure.
He tweeted when Flus talked at the podium earlier today, a laughing emoji.
Yep.
And then he tweeted after Flus got fired, God, don't make mistakes. And I'm like, listen, clearly I get the players, we're done with him at this point, but like, can you get off Twitter for a couple days now?
Yep.
Like let's get back to what's important here. What a mess, but Brisker, what a guy, man. Buff Mac, they really left him in Detroit. They didn't. They brought him back and let him talk to the media. Unless he did that presser in Detroit, it was Zoom, so maybe, but I don't think that's what happened. Appreciate the super chat, first super chat of the day. Chris Ayers, let's have a parade down Michigan Avenue. I'm not going to be parading, but you guys do what you want. I don't blame you. Have some fun. DC Viper, does this finally open the door for Ben Johnson or a big-name head coach for the offseason? What are the chances Ben takes the job? I don't know. I mean, he had a front-row seat to a pretty epic comeback yesterday for Caleb Williams that came up just short. You would think he'd be interested. I'm very fascinated to see what type of net the Bears cast here in terms of candidates. I think you have to be open-minded to everything. I think, I've been kind of sour on the Belichick idea. I think you have to bring him in and interview him. Mike Vrabel's a former head coach. I think you got to look at all these different guys and really take a hard look and figure out who the best leader for this team can be. I think you got to check two boxes with this hire. One, someone that's an alpha and that can command the entire room. That was not Matt Eberflus. Two, someone that connects well with Caleb Williams. Whether that's an offensive guy, whether it's not, those are the two boxes that must be checked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that is what must happen, and we will see if it does. Geezer says, if Brown can address the slow starts, the disrespect has less sting. Well, yeah, look, it's over. Like, you can't change how you did it. I'm not going to feel bad about it in the future. I just think in this moment, like, as much as Flus needed to go, you should have just you should have told him last night and said, hey, we're not going to announce it publicly until the morning. Go enjoy your Thanksgiving. But you're not going to talk to the media tomorrow. That seemed like the obvious thing to do. But yeah, Thomas Brown gets his shot now, and let's see what he can do. I'm excited about it. I know there was some discussion of, do you do this? Do you put him down on the field when it seems like he's gotten Caleb going? I think it's worth the risk, because if the offense continues to gel and if the team rallies around this guy and you win some games down the stretch, then I think, yeah, he's a viable option. I don't think you can zero in on him solely. I think you have to do a real search, but he gets an opportunity now, and I'm excited to see what he can do with it. Justin Adkins with the first-time super chat. 2, 3, 4, 5. Appreciate it, Justin. All super chats get on the show. As long as you guys are ripping, we'll be hanging out. Emiliano, bold prediction time. Bears hire Ben Johnson, bring in Lincoln Riley as OC. Second part would only happen if he got fired. He's not leaving a head coaching job for an OC gig. All moves will be made for Caleb's benefit. Expect Trey Smith too. Yeah, I mean, I think this offseason, starting with the coaching, is like, okay, how do we get the right guy for Caleb? And I think that's why you had to make this move and give Thomas Brown this runway here. Because if him and Caleb hit it off and it looks good on the field, then I think he's a real candidate. If it doesn't go well, no harm, no foul. Like there was no reason to keep Eberflus. So, I think that's all very valid here. Duran C. Harrison, you make the Bears game more entertaining. Appreciate your hard work every game. FGB. Get the FGBs in the chat for my guy Duran. And listen, if nothing else, I'm going to try to be entertaining and engaging and interact with all of you. And I'll tell you what, I'm fired up to watch the rest of the season now. I really, really am. So it sucks that the season's lost, but, in a lost season, you've got games that matter. So that's something. Josh Pike, if Brown doesn't get the head coach full-time, will Chicago lose him next year? Hard to go back to OC on the same team, and him and Caleb do have chemistry. Yeah, I mean, probably. He's going to get head coach interviews for other teams, I would imagine, if there are, at least a handful of openings. And, there could be a scenario where he's back as the OC, but I would guess that's unlikely. I think he's either your head coach moving forward or he's on a different staff. So we'll see. Let's see how the final 5 weeks go and go from there. Obviously, I like Thomas Brown. I like what we've seen. I'm glad he's getting this chance. It's early. Got 5 weeks to prove he can run the full show. I mean, think about this, and I'd love your thoughts on this too, Colin. This guy has gone from pass game coordinator to OC to now the interim head coach in 18 days. I mean, that's a whirlwind. So if he handles this and they win some games and they're impressive doing it, it gets a tough schedule the rest of the way. I mean, that'll show me a lot. Like, that'll show me a hell of a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, we've obviously, kind of opened the show questioning the Bears' leadership, and hopefully, I hope this move is in the positive direction, meaning they made a change and they've kind of, got their heads screwed on straight. But yeah, Thomas Brown immediately comes in. He shows the passion. He shows the ability to change the offense seemingly overnight. I mean, I remember the first game against the Packers. I mean, the offense, one of the first things I said was, this actually looks like an NFL offense. Like, it no longer looks like a shit show, for lack of a better word. And
I mean, even yesterday, like, in the first half, you're like, oh, God, maybe, like, teams have adjusted to what's working well. And he found adjustments at halftime. They scored 20 points in the second half. Like, I mean, it should have been at least 23, if not 27. So, clearly what he's done with the offense has been impressive. Now it's more on his plate. Yep. So, like, I really do think this is the Bears just kind of being like, hey, we're just going to throw the kitchen sink at this guy. If he can handle it, he's a viable candidate. If not, he's probably not. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. Whether that's fair or not.
Which is the smart solution, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, there was no
what do you
else.
have to lose? Like, and people are like, what if this stunts Caleb? Like, I've seen enough good from Caleb. Like, I'm not worried about that. Like, I am worth taking the minor risk there to see if this guy could be a head coach for you. Like, I don't think the downside outweighs the upside. I just don't. So, I'm excited they're going this route. Okay, Mike G. called it after the Hail Mary. This team will not win another game as long as Flus is the coach. My hot take now, with TV, they will win the next 5. If they win the next 5 and miss the playoffs by like a game, I'm going to be so pissed. I mean, I'll be excited, but I'll also be pissed. I'll be like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy was just sitting in your lap, and you had to just keep letting Flus piss down his leg in these games. But let's see.
Time after time after time after time.
One day at a time, one game at a time. I mean, really, like 3-2 would be really impressive. I mean, you play the Niners, who we'll see that game's more manageable now, but it's on the road. The Seahawks, who are going to be probably playing for a lot still, second to last week, and your 3 divisional opponents again. So, like, if you go 3-2, that's a pretty good job, honestly, against the schedule. So let's see how it goes. NFL Mastermind, glad he's gone. Didn't deserve the presser this morning, but needs to be Ben Johnson. He's the guy, if not Brown, very open to keeping him as the OC. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, if Brown's not the head coach, would he even be open to returning here? He might just want a new opportunity elsewhere. And I wouldn't even rule out him getting a head coaching opportunity elsewhere. So, again, we gotta take these steps for what it is, and as time trickles on, we'll have a clearer picture. Depressed Bears fan, they let Flus, and by the way, I'm gonna turn sub-only chat on. The bots, they don't sleep. They do not sleep. He says they let Flus do the press to embarrass himself as the final FU for making the Bears a joke for the last 6 weeks. I get that angle, but here's what I'll say. Flus was a total embarrassment. But so were the Bears for letting this go on this long. It got to the point, Colin, where it was actually more on the Bears. It's like Flus is telling you who he is. Time and time again. He's done it for the last 2 years. 3 times last year, 3 times before yesterday. Like, how many times does a guy have to embarrass himself in crunch time before it's on you? It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 6 times, I'm an idiot. Like, I mean, seriously. Like, I get what you're saying, but, like, this is on the Bears for weeks now. When they fired Shane Waldron, Flus should have also been fired that day. Period, end of story. But he wasn't, and now he is, so better late than never, but that's my 2 cents on it. Mike Ritz, appreciate the 2. We got DeBears34. Chris Foster is fake Bears fan. Ban him from the chat. I don't even know what he's saying. I'll keep an eye on it. Thomas Parker, is TV still calling plays? I mean, I would certainly think so. I don't think that's one thing you can't do is have a third play caller in Caleb's ear. And don't you want, again, Colin, hey, Thomas, go prove you can do it all. You can call the plays. You can be the head coach on the fly in the middle of the season. That's a lot to take on, but what an opportunity. I mean, so, yeah, I would certainly think he's still calling plays. Now, he'll probably need some more help with the game planning because now he's the head coach. So, that's where Kerry Joseph, the quarterback's coach, other guys step in. But, yeah, I would think it's safe to say he's still calling the plays.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, why would you take that away from him? I mean, it's the one part of the Bears team.
You also don't really have anyone else to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, is Kerry Joseph going to do it?
Right.
I don't think so. DC Viper, I would still fire Poles for letting this continue. He clearly shows he lacks leadership. I do want to get to the quotes here, right here, Colin, from both Poles and Kevin Warren, because I think there's some specific wording that's interesting on this point. So let's get to the statements here. Ryan Poles here on Matt Eberflus. This morning after meeting with George and Kevin, George McCaskey and Kevin Warren, we informed Matt of our decision to move in a different direction with the leadership of our football team and the head coaching position. I thank Matt for his hard work, professionalism, and dedication to our organization. We extend our gratitude for his commitment to the Bears. Wish him and his family best moving forward. Kevin Warren here, and I think this is key. I support Ryan in the decision that was made this morning. We understand how imperative the head coaching role is for building and maintaining a championship caliber team, leading our players and organization. Our fans have stood by us, persevered through every challenge. They deserve better results, yada, yada, yada. We're strong, focused, aligned, and energized for the future. I support Ryan. So to get back to this, I understand, and I'm not even disagreeing, but it seems like this was a Poles decision, and you wonder if he's been pushing for this for a few weeks, and yesterday's embarrassment on Thanksgiving finally convinced George, like, okay, you can fire him. Because the Bears have never done it before. They have never fired a coach midseason. Now, where you can't defend Poles is bringing him back this year. That was the big mistake. But I think there's a real scenario, Colin, that for weeks now, he probably wanted Eberflus out, and George is like, we don't do things like that. But after yesterday, they convinced him, like, dude, we're going to lose the team. The locker, I mean, Brisker on Twitter, Keenan Allen in the locker room, Kyler Gordon, next question. Like, this couldn't go for another day. So I'm with you, but I do think there could be some nuance here that that offers a little more perspective. Brisker, man, I just I'm laughing because it's like, all right, Jaquan, he's been fired. You don't need to tweet about it anymore. Like, leave that to us, to the fans and to the media. Like, we get it. You guys didn't like him, but like, I just can we focus on your health? Like, I'm worried about your health, man. Like, you've been in a concussion protocol for 2 months. This is a little unnecessary. Like, it's one thing for Keenan Allen in the locker room to say, I feel like as players we did enough to win this game. It's another for Brisker to put out a laughing emoji when the presser started this morning, and then God don't make mistakes after he gets fired. But listen, to each their own. I guarantee you, though, Poles does not like this. Like, you don't want your players doing that. So.
No, this is uncalled for. And I think, Brisker maybe feeling the emotions a little bit. And look, I mean, clearly he states, where his feelings on Eberflus and everything. And I'm sure he's
That's
not
kind of my point. It's like, you've made that now.
Exactly.
This better be the last thing about it, is my point. If
Yep.
there's another tweet from him, like he's been doing this for weeks with the subliminal messaging on the coaching, like it's done. So if I see another tweet from Brisker calling out the coaching when he's not, and again, I hope he gets healthy. I'm concerned about the head injuries, all that stuff. I don't want to see any more, though. Like, you said your piece, it's done. It is done. Sonny, we are witnessing history, folks. 100 years in the making. Eberflus was the straw that broke the Bears' back. That's how bad this guy was. I want a hug. Sonny, we're hugging. Virtual hug. Shout out to you. Bear witness. Yes, yes, yes. I'm back in the city just in time. Now it's a better Thanksgiving. Shy love. Hashtag bear down. I'll tell you what, bear witness. I got to hit the road in a few hours, but if someone matches your 50, I'll rip a beer bong. I've got some ammunition ready.
We'll make a race.
We'll do a race. If someone matches Bear Witness's 50, we'll get a race going. Sammy King, would you trade a first and a second for McVay? Honestly, probably. If I knew he was going to be like not in that year-to-year thing, because he's been flirting with retiring for a while. But honestly, yes, I probably would. And this team still has roster holes, but I know what McVay brings to the table. Yeah, I would do that, even if that sounds crazy. And I'm not a big trade for coach guy. Like, I think it's a little kind of nutty, but the Bears have been so poor at hiring coaches that I would probably do it. And in that scenario, you could just keep Thomas Brown as the OC because they're pretty tight. Okay, Ruthless, after Chicago commented fire Flus on Chicago Bears. Oh, City of Chicago, that's right. They finally retired of it, then they fired Flus. Yeah, if you guys didn't see, the City of Chicago's Instagram account replied to a Bears IG post, fire Flus, which is, like, that's funny. Like, that's actually funny. So
I don't think either one of us really, like, believed it when we first kind of heard about it, and then we actually looked it up. It's like, oh, wow. They actually did.
My buddy just tweeted or texted me, breaking news, Matt Eberflus throws the challenge flag on his firing decision. That's good stuff.
That's hilarious.
That is good stuff. Shout out to my guy Smits on that one. Balmain, appreciate the 2. T-Lair addicted. Do you think Mike Singletary? Guys, stop. Singletary is like, what is he, 65? And he was horrible with the Niners. No, he's not a viable option. Duran C., do we hire our next head coach based on our roster talent or coaching experience? I think you hire the guy that you think commands the room the best and can connect with Caleb. Those are the two boxes you have to check with this hire. Hey, wishing me good news. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. It's over. The bad man can't hurt you anymore.
No, he cannot.
Na. Hey. Goodbye. Matt Eberflus was a doom.
Oh, dude. I mean, the no timeout yesterday was just.
It's all time bad.
Yeah. On national TV in front of everybody.
You got players tweeting LOL.
Go Raiders. Dude, Brisker is – he's lost the plot.
Yeah.
LOL. Oh, my God. Dude.
Go Raiders.
Go
Although
Raiders.
it's Team Tank, right?
Yeah.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs by only 3.
You guys can have Matt Nagy back.
No.
Over Eberflus? Yes, but no, we don't want Matt Nagy back.
Been there,
Tyler
done
Jones, Chiefs Report host, says we could have Nagy back.
Vin Johnson or bust? Is that the
I wouldn't say or bust, but he's at
number
or near the
He's
top of
number
the
Maybe
list.
don't hire a Colts coordinator next time.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
Colts coordinators.
Yeah.
No Colts coordinators. What a joke.
What a joke.
To answer that last one, though, yeah, it's those two things. Rock Liggins, why not Eric Washington, more coaching experience? As, like, the long-term guy or the interim? If you made him the interim, you'd kind of be signaling, okay, we just don't want to mess with the Thomas Brown, Caleb thing. That seems to be going well right now. But I don't think he's a viable long-term candidate. Throw Thomas Brown in the deep end, see what he can do. I think that's the right way to go. Ramsey T, rumor has it Flus called the timeout before he was fired. Excited to see what Brown can do. Sources, there's rumors out there, Ramsey. Bear the F down. If Brown wins out, is he the guy? It's hard to say. How does it look? Does Caleb keep growing? Does the defense get galvanized around Thomas Brown too? Because I think that's an underrated part of this, Colin. The defense kind of lost the rope here. I know yesterday the red zone defense is kind of held on by a thread here. Detroit kind of messed around in the second half. They didn't have a sharp game. So, I'm not saying they completely quit, but clearly Flus's messaging was not resonating anymore. So, I'm curious to see if the defense gets galvanized here. So, I'm fascinated by that.
I am too. Obviously, you find out what he is. You find out what Thomas Brown's made of. Would have loved it to be more than 5 games left, but
I would have loved it once you fired Waldron just to fire them both and just throw Brown in the deep end. But this is the situation, and listen, you're doing it against some real competition. So
100%.
I'm curious to see how he handles it. No
100%.
question.
And Harry, it looks like we're racing, brother.
Yeah, we're racing. Shout out to Doug B. Who the GM and coaches are make absolutely no difference. Until ownership changes and they keep treating it as only a business, the Bears will continue to suck in perpetuity. Prove me wrong. This has been true for decades. Well, I definitely think there's some truth to that. They've also never done what they just did, which is fire a coach in season. So maybe there's at least some level of willingness to do things differently. But I hear you. They got to prove it. They got to prove that they can be a winning organization. Because under the leadership of George McCaskey, they have not been able to prove that. But, and look, I'll just say this. If you get the right head coach, I think it can work even with questionable ownership. Are any of the guys they've brought in the last decade plus guys you think could win at a high level? I know John Fox had prior success, but he was so over the hill. Matt Nagy. Chiefs fans don't even want him as the OC. Mark Trestman, that's a joke. They hired him over Bruce Arians. None of these coaches, regardless of the ownership, were high-quality coaches. So that's just what it comes down to. It's unfortunate you didn't do it in the offseason and you didn't try to get Harbaugh. That's unfortunate. But you got to focus on the here and now and get the right coach. Open up the pocketbooks. If they pay big money for a big-time head coach, that would show a lot. That would show a lot. All right, we're going to rip this race here in just a second. I do want to get to a couple of tweets after that as well from Albert Breer, and then there's a third one from Paul Hembo as well. But
Yep.
Cullen, cheers. Eberflus is out. Shout out to you guys for hanging out in the chat. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah. Whew. Pretty crazy stuff, man. Pretty crazy stuff.
It happened. It actually happened.
Yeah. We'll go to the tweets.
All right, let's go through kind of some how this news happened. Albert Breer, the Bears coaching staff had a normal morning, went through their meetings and day after game routine. They were set to go home to get to their families at noon Central Time, and then in the 11 a.m. hour, Matt Eberflus gave his coaches the news in a brief meeting. Diana Rossini adds this. I just spoke with some in the Bears organization. What happened after last night's game was very overwhelming in terms of emotion and frustration for everyone. One player described it as absolute disbelief, something I've never been a part of in my career. I wonder if that was Montez Sweat. He had similar words after one of the recent losses. I think he said something along the lines of, I'm experienced something this year that I've never experienced. So that seems like similar wording there. So just an educated guess. And then Paul Himbo, who does kind of stats for ESPN. I mean, this shows the significance of this move, even if it was too late or a little late than you would have liked it. The only time the Bears replaced, not fired, replaced their coach midseason was 1942. George Halas, who also owned the team, left after 5 games, entered the Navy as a commissioned officer during World War II. 1, badass. 2, that just goes to show how historic this is. They believe, the McCaskey family's in their bones, that you don't fire a head coach in the middle of the year. But this situation got so dire, Cullen, that they didn't have a choice. Yeah. The players were, without saying the words our head coach sucks and we don't believe in him, they were saying our head coach sucks and we don't believe in him.
Yeah. I mean, they had to go against their own principles and do something unprecedented. I mean,
that's what, and I question the leadership of this franchise, but that's what real good leaders do, is sometimes you have to adapt. Sometimes you have to understand, maybe the way I do things doesn't work, so let's try something different. So I'm not going to sit here and say this is some historic changing of the guard, but it's something they've never done before. So let's see where it goes from here. Mr. Calderon, would you consider Matt the worst Bears coach ever? I mean, he's in the discussion. I think win percentage-wise, he's technically just third worst. But I think when you factor in, Cullen, just the late-game mismanagement on more than a handful of occasions, he's in the discussion. And I broke this down in the breaking news video we put out before we went live. You could make an argument in the 21st century for a guy who got more than a year, because there's the Urban Meyers, the Nate Hackett's, the guys that you knew 8 games in were just a joke.
Yeah, the flops.
A guy to get a third year, he's got to be at or near the top of the list in terms of worst coaches that we've ever seen. I mean, the resume speaks for itself, but when you actually watch how they lost some of these games, I mean, I'm not trying to bury the guy. He's fired and it's over. It's one of the worst coaching displays I've ever witnessed. I'm 31 years old. I'm not going to pull up situations from 1974, but in this century, I can't think of a guy who got a third year that did much worse than this. I mean, it's it's about as bad as you could possibly be. So, yeah, pretty rough, man. Pretty rough. Kimberly, what about Matt Campbell from Iowa State? Has proven himself with Purdy. He can win the Big 12 and move up to the NFL. There was a time where he was getting NFL buzz. It was around the time Matt Rule actually made the jump. Obviously, that didn't work out with Carolina. I kind of think he's missed his window to make a big leap like that, Cullen. Maybe he gets a bigger college job at some point, but I don't think – I think if you're looking at the college level, I think Dan Lanning is a name to monitor. Marcus Freeman's been mentioned in circles. I think he was a Bears draft pick. I'd be a little hesitant there only because he's had some bizarre losses at Notre Dame. I think Lanning would be the one guy. And then obviously the wild card is Lincoln. Would he jump to the NFL? Do you want to make that move? Caleb would like it, but I don't think you could just let Caleb pick the guy, but I do think he needs to have some influence here.
100%.
I would be hesitant with Lincoln. If you're going to bring him in, you've got to have experienced NFL assistants. You'd have to have a big-time DC. I don't know. You get a Robert Saleh as your defensive coordinator, someone who's been a head coach before. I mean, because it's not just that he's lost the rope a little bit in college. He's never coached at the NFL level. 100%. There's not a long history of guys who've gone from college to the NFL with not even assistant coaching experience at the NFL level that have had success.
Right.
So that would give me pause. I think he's a guy you should talk to if he's interested, but he can't be at the top of the list.
Yeah. So a couple things. Marcus Freeman was a 2009 fifth-round pick for the Bears.
Fifth-round pick.
You are right. Second thing is, too, and we talked about this on a watch party probably a week, 2 weeks ago, somewhere around there, where someone asked, asked me, like, hey, why did you think Shane Waldron failed? And ultimately, like, my reasoning is that he was the oldest guy in the building, and he was, at a second stop as an offensive coordinator. And when you hire a guy like Eberflus, who, he is his first-time head coach and everything, polls, right? Like, it's his first time being a GM. You have a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. Like, at some point, experience needs to be in the room.
Yeah.
Right? So it just kind of is one of those things with Eberflus that, again, I'm not opposed to them going to a younger first-time head coach if they believe it's the right man. You've got to have some people on the staff, though, that can, respected voices that are not afraid to, voice concerns or, hey, maybe it'd be a good time to take a time out here, Flus. Or, maybe it would be a good time to, make this call in this spot. Like, you need some veterans in the building to help this, generation of Bears grow. And that's just, they didn't have it. They need to have it this next time, whether that is hiring Vrabel, who's obviously been around the block, or whomever.
That's why I do look, Ben Johnson's very high on my list, but, you better be damn sure he can lead the room. Because, I love his offense. It's creative. He's gotten Jared Goff to a whole new level. But, if he's not an alpha, I don't know if you can hire him. I'm guilty of this. Everyone wants the next Shanahan, the next McVay, the young offensive guy that can call plays, which is why you're giving Thomas Brown this opportunity. And I will say this about Thomas Brown. That guy's an alpha. Do you just make him your head coach? No. He's going to have to show you some things here. But if you're any coordinator with no head coaching experience you bring in, you're going to have to really pepper these guys in these interviews. And this is these guys hired Matt Eberflus. I mean, Kevin Warren wasn't here, but Poles signed off on that. He made the final call on that. So you're going to have to be thorough. You're probably going to have to change some of your interview process, and we'll see if they get it right. There's certainly plenty of reason to be cautious there because they have not proven they can. So this is the easy part, Colin, getting rid of a guy that's obviously bad. Now the hard work starts. The first part of that is evaluating Thomas Brown the rest of the year, but while he's coaching, you need to start doing deep research on other candidates out there. That should be starting this weekend, right away. So, that's what a good organization will do. We'll see if they are. Trade Roley for Justin Fields said coaching was the problem, and he got crucified for it. Claypool said the same. Players been saying this. I didn't crucify him for it. I agree with him. I said Luke Getsy made this guy robotic. His drop was too slow. He was hesitant to pull the trigger. I didn't crucify him for it. I think he got crucified because it's saying that specifically as the quarterback, you're going to get backlash. I didn't crucify him for it, though, because he was right. He was right. They overcoached him. The coaching's been bad here. Again, this is two separate things. This is not, don't twist this as, they should have kept Justin. I told you. No, that's not true at all, at least in my eyes. But I agreed with him when he said that. I completely agreed with him when he said that. Ball Main, appreciate the 5. Jay Copeland, can Flus take all of his leftover timeouts with him? He could take them with him. He could do whatever he wants with them. I hope he ate his last time out for Thanksgiving dinner last night. Man, what a mess that was. What a mess. Ball Main, appreciate the 10. First off, Harrison, thanks for getting the name right. Second of all, I think Belichick is the guy. It's an interesting way of spelling that. For the job to pair him with Thomas Brown, make it happen. Bear down, FGB. Well, here's the thing, and I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I feel pretty confident. If you hire Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels is going to be the offensive coordinator. That's Belichick's guy. That gives me pause, Colin, because obviously he had success with Brady, and actually Mac Jones' only good year was under McDaniels, so I'm not saying he's not a good OC. That guy does not have great people skills. Right. I just don't know if that's what you want with Caleb Williams.
No.
And I'm talking about McDaniels. I'm not even talking about Belichick.
No, 100%. And, I mean, look, Belichick would bring in the fact that he is an adult. He's been there before, and he would stabilize the franchise. The only question is he uplifting Caleb in this offense and this, the Bears to a point where they're trying to get to, which ultimately, again, we can argue about Caleb another day. at bare minimum, you've got your QB that you're committed to for the remainder of his rookie contract.
Yeah. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Like, I'm committed to him, and I want to maximize him in the best possible scenario possible. And there's just so many guys. Harry, you've made a list of, like, potential head coach candidates, to replace Eberflus.
We'll do a fresh video on that, by the way. Stay tuned.
Belichick would be far down on my list, too. Like, I
do think you should talk to him. You're
sure.
not doing your due diligence if you don't. That thing collapsed once Brady left, man. And like that just, I don't know. That would give me pause, but we'll see. We got Don Pedrito. Marin, reports say Eberflus has not reacted to the firing, instead just staying there as time runs on. Tom Grossi video. That's pretty funny. How about this? Matt Eberflus reportedly, this is a Saturday morning. Matt Eberflus reportedly showed up to the facility on Saturday because he was unaware what was happening right in front of him. J-Dubs, Chris Morgan is the OC now. How is he still here? I mean, are you saying that, or did the Bears actually make some formal, did they say that in a statement? Let's see.
That would be pretty interesting, to say the least.
Not seeing anything about it. Chris.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything about it.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah. Brown's going to call the plays. I mean, obviously, Chris Morgan's probably going to have to help with the game planning. I mean, like, he's a coach on the staff. You're going to need people to help you with that stuff. So, but yeah, he should have never survived the Getsy firing. I mean, that was ridiculous. AKA Moses, Bears now, and fans, finally, the shit show is done. Finally, the word of the day. Ballmain, typo Belichick. Yeah, we got you. Thomas Parker, if Thomas Brown finishes strong, it is going to show a lot about McVay and his opinions on people. That's a good point. McVay has high regard of Thomas Brown. So, yeah, I mean, if this thing finishes strong and we got you, we got to take that seriously. Wally Farage, first time super, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you, Wally. Josh Roth, as a Broncos fan, that ending yesterday was literally a Nate Hackett game to in the game. Glad you guys smartened up. Took way too long, Josh. This has been happening for weeks now, but yeah, it was. I think this being on Thanksgiving, Cullen's standalone game, everybody watched it. You couldn't kind of slide that under the rug. Like, that's not getting buried by other news within 24 hours. So.
No. And again, I'm like, what took them all the way until basically noon today to fire? The fact that they let him speak in front of the media.
Yeah, I mean,
today. I'm still like puzzled by that. Like, why would you? I don't know. It's one of those things that I'll probably just never understand. But hey, he's gone. He's out of there. Now a new era starts.
Yep. Christian Hubbard, do you believe in an energy shift I keep talking about? I hope so. I got to see it, but I hope so.
By the way, you said, how do you feel about this next game coming up against the 49ers?
I like their chances.
Yeah. I think they can.
They're doing a lot of things well. They really are, especially offensively. I think the defense will get a jolt. Just hearing from a different voice, Eric Washington will call the plays now. San Francisco's banged up. I would expect Purdy's back by then, but if he's not, I kind of think they could hammer him. If he is, I still think they could win. Yeah, I like their chances to beat the 49ers. I really do. TJ, I don't see him getting a DC job next year even. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This thing got so awry, Colin. Like, his DC chances might be slim, at least for this year. I think down the road he could still get one. I still think he is a good defensive coach, but yeah, I mean, he may just have to take a year off. I mean, this thing got so bad.
100%.
And the Bears are obviously still paying out his contract, so it's not like he has to go take a job. So,
yep.
Yeah. John T., Outside of Pete Carroll, NCAA coaches don't work ever. I mean, there's been examples.
There's different levels of success too. Like Harbaugh's clearly worked both in college and the pros.
Yeah.
So
it definitely it's a leap. Like it's
It is.
that wouldn't be my top area. The Lanning thing is interesting because the reporting of people saying he's got some Dan Campbell to him, like that intrigues me. Would he take this job knowing the chaos of the Bears? I don't know. But it's it's interesting. Paleo, so glad Flus is gone. Do you think key Bears players should have some say in who the next head coach is? Caleb, Jalen, Cole, Kyler. I mean, Kyler Gordon. I like Kyler, but I don't know. I mean, I think Caleb should at least be consulted with, because when you take a guy like this, number one overall, the whole point of it, especially on his rookie contract, is to maximize that window. How can we win as much as possible? And ideally, you want Caleb to be here for 15 years. Like that's the hope. Now we're 12 games in. There's a long way to go for him to prove he could even get a second contract. But I do think getting someone that can mesh with Caleb is vital. Like obviously you don't have him pick the coach, but I think getting his opinions on things is a good idea. Now, do other players get that? I don't know. It's you got to thread that needle if you're Poles and Warren. Trade Rolly for the love of God, don't include Bill Polian. Yeah, no Bill Polian this time. He could not be consulted with. Colin, if you didn't know, they hired him last time they were hiring a GM and coach, and the three finalists he came up with were Matt Eberflus, Dan Quinn, and Jim Caldwell. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's bad.
Dan Quinn's solid, but man, that's pretty rough. Aaron Wolf, Flus is flush. Happy day. We need a leader of men. Go and get an alpha. No more beta bitches. Yeah, you got to get a guy that commands the room. Period. End of story. That's why I think they made this move now, because I think they're confident Thomas Brown can do that, and they like what he's done with the offense. Now they're giving him the full keys. What can he do over the final 5 weeks? We're about to find out. Tedros, been getting nonstop sheet talking from family and friends for 24 hours, like Rich Eisen said. Hand Ben Johnson a blank check. Vrabel at DC would be great. If we don't address O-line, D-line, Poles can go. I don't think Poles is going anywhere. I think he's getting another chance to hire a coach. Two, I don't think Vrabel's taking a D coordinator job. I think he's head coach or bust.
Yeah, at this point.
He's also more – I know he's a defensive guy. He's really more of a CEO. So I don't think he's going to get back into the ring of being a DC somewhere. So, yeah, I'm high on Ben Johnson. You got to do the research there and see if he can lead the team. We know his offense is awesome, but he's got to lead the whole group. Sean, I'm actually really surprised. Didn't think Bears would do it. Why was Eberflus allowed to talk to the media if he was getting fired? I have no idea. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. They should have scrapped the presser, finished whatever meetings were necessary, and then announced the change. I'm not going to feel bad for Flus, but that was kind of like a slap in the face, if we're being completely honest. Papichulo sits, updated record prediction after change. I mean, it doesn't really – I mean, it matters in terms of if you want Thomas Brown to be the long-term guy, but you're 4-8. I don't know. If you went 3-2 the final 5 games, I'd be pretty impressed. You got all your division opponents again, including 2 of them on the road, Green Bay and Minnesota. You got the 49ers on the road next week. We'll see what their health situation is. You got the Seahawks at home. I mean, your only chance to even have a 3% chance of making the playoffs is winning out. I think we all agree that's done. I don't know. I got to think about it more. Perk 30. The Bears finally unclogged the toilet and flushed the Flus. Excited to see what Thomas Brown has as a head coach. Yeah, me too. It gives you more reason for the rest of these games to matter. Not only Caleb and seeing how he plays the rest of the way, but Thomas Brown and seeing how he handles being the head coach of this team. I'm excited. Tedros, knowing the Bears, they might hire Jeff Saturday. Oh, you mean the Jeff Saturday that 4 days ago said that Caleb Williams might save Matt Eberflus's job? What an idiot. I mean, seriously. I don't know if you saw that, Colin. That was outrageous. I mean, even the people on the set were like, no. What a awful take that was.
Yeah. This is why you tune into Bears Now and Chat Sports versus some other companies.
If they hired Jeff Saturday, I'd delete the channel. I'm that confident. It's not going to happen. David Kozlik, Team Fire Flus for the effing win. Bear the F down. David, appreciate the donation, man. And, yeah, it's mercifully over. Chris Ayers, Matt Eberflus leaves Chicago with one timeout remaining. Let him keep it. He can put it on his desk or something. He can frame it. Or you can put it in one of those cases where you put, like, your first dollar if you're like a entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Man, that's
pretty bad.
That's unreal. Christian Hubbard, take a shot for the energy shift, brother. I'll tell you what, we're at $335 in super chats. If we cross 400, I'll knock out another beer bong. How about that?
We can make it a race, too.
I'll knock out another beer bong. Let's while we're doing that, keep the super chats flowing in. You can hashtag Bears as well. We're gonna continue to answer your questions, but we're gonna do it in full mailbag form. So launch in your questions. We know not everybody can tune in live, so I want to do a mailbag so that people can tune into that later. So hashtag Bears or super chat. We will get those questions in. Just do PrizePicks, subread, Colin, and how about who will be the Bears head coach in 2025?
Okay.
If you got that weigh-in available. We can just do one weigh-in. TJ Peck, if Thomas Brown can beat the Packers, let him stay. Go Bears. Look, if you finish strong and he beats the Packers in Green Bay, we know how much that matters to ownership. So that would be a strong final kind of because that's Week 18. That'd be a strong final message sent from Thomas Brown, no question. And that's the thing, Colin. They're capable of beating these teams. We've seen it. Mm-hmm. They just have crumbled in late game spots.
Yeah. No, and it's just over and over and over again, just consistently making mistakes down the stretch, and it's just
I gotta think this team is gonna get an emotional lift here, at least in the short term.
You would think.
What does it mean long term? I don't know, but I think for the rest of this season, this is gonna be. I think this is gonna provide a lift. For
sure.
Okay.
Here, like I said,
hashtag Bears super chat. Get those questions in. Let's see here.
All right, for sure. Just making sure this looks good. Yep. Make sure you get y'all's questions in hashtag Bears or super chat. Get in on the show.
Let's go.
Let's go.
You got questions about the coaching search, about the team this year, Caleb, whatever it is. Let's get it rocking and rolling. Fire those questions in. We'll hit the super chats that are still out there and answer as many questions as we can. As we cross $400, we will do I'll do another beer bong for you guys. All right, let's get into it. You want to do it after? Or here, I'll just pause and we can start with this one here. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Time to kick off our Bears mailbag here on Chicago Bears Now, following the firing of Matt Eberflus. I'm Harrison Graham. Buff Carter official says, I feel Josh McCown could be a good coach for Caleb. So he's the quarterback's coach in Minnesota. He's pretty highly regarded in the NFL. The Texans almost made him their head coach a few years ago when they ultimately, I think they promoted Lovey, and then the next year they hired D'Amico. That feels like a leap. Obviously, he played in this organization, but could it be an offensive coordinator candidate if you hire like a CEO type of coach? Because that would be an upward move from QB's coach to OC. So I think McCown's a name to monitor. I could see the Bears interviewing him as a head coach candidate. Wouldn't be at the top of my list, but obviously did some good things with the Bears as a player, pretty highly regarded as a future head coach. I just wonder if it's a little too early for him. What say you? Who should be the Bears head coach in 2025 and beyond? Is it Thomas Brown, who's getting the opportunity to be the interim head coach right now? You guys let me know. Bears head coach 2025. Who is it? Drop his name down in the comments section below. Travis Burke, excuse me. I had Thomas Brown in my mind. I'm sorry if it's been asked already, but what about Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick, I think you should interview him. He wouldn't be at the top of my list. Obviously, he's a legend, all that stuff. I thought things ended really poorly in New England without Tom Brady. His resume without Tom Brady is questionable. He's 73 years old. I'm not saying he's not an option. I just don't know if he's my top option. Also, it's pretty likely he'll bring Josh McDaniels with him as his OC because that's his guy. He's not very personable. Like, is that the guy you want to pair with Caleb? I don't know. Again, I think you should interview him. You should definitely do your background there. I don't know if this is the right fit for Bill, though. Soldier Bear 85. Who calls the offense now? It's going to be Thomas Brown still, unless they announce something differently. But I think the Bears, I actually like what they're doing there. They're just throwing the kitchen sink at Thomas Brown. Hey, here's a 5-week audition. We're impressed with what you did, taking over play calling on the fly. Now you're taking over the whole thing. You're the head coach. Keep calling plays. Move down to the sideline. Lead this team. See where the chips fall. That's what they're doing here. Augustine, do you think Ben Johnson has inherited a little bit of Dan Campbell, making him an aggressive candidate? I mean, I would hope so, right? You can't force your personality, but I would hope that just, that aura, that leadership that Campbell has rubbed off on Ben Johnson. I think it's definitely rubbed off on Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator. He's a pretty big alpha guy as well. I think he's a guy worth interviewing. Defensive guy, so it gives me pause, but I think he'll be on the list. But yeah, I would hope so, and I think that's what you have to figure out because I like Ben Johnson a lot. He'd be near, if not at the top of my list, to be the next Bears head coach. But can he lead the room? Can he galvanize the entire team? Or is he just this fun, creative play caller? Because some guys are just that. They're just really good coordinators. So if you're going to go the coordinator route, which unless you fire a couple of options that have been head coaches before, you really got to do the deep research, press these guys hard in interviews, and figure out if they can handle being that guy. Are you glad Matt Eberflus is gone? If you are, like this video. Hit that thumbs up icon if you are glad that Matt Eberflus is no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Check out our sponsor, PrizePicks. The best daily fantasy sports app in North America is PrizePicks with more than 10 million users and counting playing, available in more than 30 states. And it's awesome because I've been playing season-long fantasy forever, but some years just don't go your way. You have injuries, you have a poor draft, whatever the case may be, you have some bad luck. PrizePicks is daily fantasy. New lineups every day. You can pick different players. You don't have to be stuck with a team that's filled with injuries. And it's really simple how it works. Number one, you got to sign up. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to create an account today. And that code CLNS will get you a $50 bonus when you play for just $5. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. Then start creating your lineups. This is the 2-player lineup I have for this weekend in football. Jaden Daniels, less on his passing yards. He's been trending down a bit. Bo Nix, I've got more there. He's been trending up. 5 to win 15. But again, if you're a new customer and use our code CLNS when you create an account, you're going to get a $50 bonus regardless if you win or lose your first $5 entry. So check that out today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Play daily fantasy with PrizePicks. Ben Seaton, if they bring in a whole new staff with a brand new head coach, would you keep Thomas Brown on staff since him and Caleb seem to be connecting well? I think you got to leave that to the head coach. I think you hire the head coach and he brings in his staff. That's what I believe in. I'm not saying polls can't help conduct interviews for assistant coaches or whatever, but what you can't do if you don't keep Thomas Brown as the head coach is say, hey, Ben Johnson or whoever, you're our guy, but by the way, you have to keep Thomas Brown. I'm not a believer in that. I like Thomas Brown. If he's a part of this moving forward, whether it's as the head coach or something else, I'd be all for it. But you cannot force that onto the next guy if it's not TB. And let's face it, Thomas Brown, if they don't choose him, especially if he does well here, he might take that as a slap in the face anyway. He might say, oh, you don't want me as head coach, but you want me to stay on as an assistant? Nah, I'm good. I'll have other opportunities later. So let's see how this 5-week period goes with him. I think he'll get a head coach interview with this team regardless, and we'll see where it goes from there. Coco Monkey says, is Robert Saleh a good DC for next year? I'd be open to it. It'd be a scheme shift, 4-3 to 3-4, so that's something to consider. But, most defenses are multiple these days, so I don't think you can cross off 3-4 guys. I think you got to be open to everything. But I would say this, especially if you have a first-time head coach, it'd be nice if one of your coordinators is a guy who's held the job before, even if it's a guy in Saleh who failed as a head coach. He still has brings in those experiences. He was great as the Niners DC. Their defense fell off a cliff once they fired him, by the way, in New York. And really, the Niners' defenses, they were good with D'Amico still, but since Saleh and D'Amico, their defenses haven't been as good the last couple of years. DC Viper, what players under contract get possibly cut or traded in the offseason? Name that keeps coming to mind is Edmonds. You don't save a lot of money if he's a pre-June 1st cut, so keep that in mind. Let me look at the exact numbers here. Obviously, the big one all season was Nate Davis. They already did that. That's going to save them like $9 million next year. But if they cut Tremaine Edmonds, let me see for the cap. Do this on the fly here. I'm going to do pre-June 1 versus post-June 1. Pre-June 1 for next year, you save $4.3 million, dead cap of $13 million. That's a big number. Post-June 1, you save $7 million, you eat $10.6 million. It seems more likely you're going to have him for one more year. Maybe a new voice can get more out of him because for what he's paid, he's a pretty average player. So you might just have to stick with him for one more year. If you cut him, I would imagine it's a post-June 1 cut, but who knows? A new voice in here might just say, hey, well, let's just eat the money and get him out. Who knows? Philip, appreciate the question. Harrison, how do Warren and Poles pick the right coach and avoid this insanity every 3 years? The vicious circle needs to end. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's always a little bit of luck involved when you hire a coach, but I'm also a believer in you create your own luck, and if you do the proper research, if you know what you're looking for when you interview people. I interview people all the time as potential new hires here at Chat Sports, and there's a few things I look for. One is confidence. Another one is just energy. Like, how engaging are you? We interviewed a guy recently that said about 3 words in his answers for every question we had. We had him blocked for an hour, and 20 minutes in, the interview was over. Seemed like a nice guy, but it's like that's not convincing me. So, you got to be able to carry a conversation. You got to be able – I don't think it's hard, and I think producer Cullen would agree with me here. When you talk to somebody that you've never met before, especially in an interview setting, you'll know within about 10 minutes, if not sooner, if this is a guy that can hold a high leadership position. So I think it's kind of you know it when you see it. And I think they feel some of that with Thomas Brown, which is why he's getting this opportunity. But you got to look for those leadership traits, and we'll see if they can find those when they look for this coach. Billy, any thoughts on Kellen Moore? He'd be on my list. Let's see. He's been around a while. He's worked with a lot of different quarterbacks. I think he's found Jalen Hurts, what he does well again. They've taken the pressure off. Now they have an awesome offensive line. They're leaning on Saquon. Hurts isn't having to do as much. So, it's a little different dynamic, but he'd be on my list. I like Kellen. Mason Robertson, what is the best draft situation for next year with how the rest of this season goes? Well, clearly with Thomas Brown, like you're trying to win games here. Like let's just get that out of the way. But I think you get a high impactful trenches player, whether it's offense or defensive line. That's the ideal first round setup. And then whichever one you don't get, you go the other route on day 2. You can't force picks. Like if you're picking at 41 and the best lineman available is 56 on your board, you can't force that. Maybe you trade down. Maybe you take best player available. You still got to be open-minded, but you got to get better in the trenches. That's very clear. Kobe White enjoyer. I agree. Do you think the defense played worse and gave less effort in these last few games on purpose to try and make Eberflus look worse? I don't know if they conspired with each other like, hey, let's kind of mail it in and make Flus look worse, because your tape is your resume. You can't just completely do that. But I do think the over-the-top hustle was gone. The hits principle became the shits principle pretty quickly after Washington. I think the defense will play better against San Francisco. I really do. I think they'll have a burst of energy. And I'm not saying they'll get back to being a dominant group or anything like that. You still have some guys injured, but I do think that this will provide a spark there. Hit that subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now. Thank you so much for helping us cross 110,000 subscribers here on the channel. We will continue to cover the latest Bears news, rumors, obviously coaching search. I mean, it's going to be a busy few months, not only for the rest of the season, but into the offseason. Critical time for the Chicago Bears, and we'll see if they can get it right this time. We're going to cover it every step of the way. Show some support. Hit that subscribe button. All right, Profit. Fire first Waldron, now Flus. How many people does Williams get fired? Should have kept Real QB1 and JF1. JF1 done more with less compared 23 to 24. Do you realize, Profit, that Caleb's already surpassed Justin's career high in passing yards in 12 games? Do you understand that he has a chance to throw for 4,000 yards this year, despite the chaos of this organization? Like, I said it yesterday. I'm retired from the Justin talk, but like, it's just silly. It's so silly. And I like Justin, and I wish him well. But this type of mindset is like, this team's never gonna win if you just keep thinking like this. Like, you realize Justin, this is my last thing I'm saying, I swear, at least today. You realize Justin Fields statistically is one of the worst fourth quarter quarterbacks in the last 25 years? One of the worst. Say what you want about Caleb, Cullen. Guy's been a fourth quarter machine. Leading comebacks, driving down the field, making big time throws. It's not his fault that his coach shit the bed in all these games and they didn't win them. I mean, seriously. So, yeah, I'm not going to entertain this talk anymore. Tedros. Harrison, I kid you not, my great aunt was here from Europe for Thanksgiving. She never watched a down of football before. Even she was asking, wait, what are they doing? Why don't they stop the clock? I don't know if I believe you or not, but I could believe it. I ain't calling the average person that doesn't normally watch football who was sitting at the Thanksgiving table yesterday watching the ending of that. Even if you don't know what the right thing to do was, you would have known that what happened wasn't right. Like, you would have been like, that felt weird. And if that's the case, then you know it's bad.
Yeah. I can't speak for Tedros, but when I came home after work last night, I mean, my family immediately, I mean, obviously they're watching all the games or everything. Every single one of them was like, what happened there? What happened? And I'm sitting there like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't really explain it to him other than the fact that he, without saying the word, shit the bed. And
DJ Moore used that phrase yesterday.
Yeah.
He said, we keep getting in these late game situations and we shit the bed. I mean, the players are saying it. So, yeah, it's bad. Jay Zilla, Flus being fired is the biggest dub since the bye. Remember when we were riding into the bye, Caleb had tossed 4 touchdowns in London. Bears were 4-2.
Good times.
I said it in my post-game rant, though, in Washington when they lost on that ridiculous ending. I said, maybe it's better this way.
Maybe.
And that's when the pen dropped. It took 6 weeks after that, but that's when the pen dropped. Buff Cartier, Ben Johnson, Vrabel, Nagy, Brown, Bill Belichick. They will not even interview Nagy. And quite frankly, I don't think Nagy would take an interview. That's not happening. I'll have a fresh list. Stay tuned. I don't know if the video will go out today, tomorrow, sometime.
I don't know why, like, reunions are such a popular thing on this show. Like, all the reunions people are trying to have.
Yeah, it's like,
Justin
guys,
Fields,
none of these
Nagy.
guys were good. Like, it wasn't leading to wins.
I don't understand.
I want winners. So if you're going to go the coordinator route, which they did with Nagy, Chiefs, all that stuff, didn't work out. Hey, it happens. If you're going coordinator, better be a guy from a high-level winning organization, or it needs to be a guy who's been the head coach before and has had success. That's what it needs to be. Kyle Grove, who calls the defense now that Eberflus is gone? It'll be Eric Washington. He's the defensive coordinator in title, and he called plays for a couple of years with Carolina several years ago, so he could finish it out. He'll be fine. Wes Prowl, thank you for your dedication to the show. Have the Bears officially announced the interim head coach? Yeah, it's Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown, top of the screen there. He's the guy. He's the guy. Appreciate the super from you. Depressed Bears fan, I tagged you in a tweet on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. My mentions, this isn't a humble brag. It's just out of control. I can't even keep up with half of this shit.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it. You may DM it to me, Depressed Bears fan. That'll be an easier way for me to find it. So
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, we'll get to the next one. Dave, English Bear fan here, and finally, cheerio, Flus. Now Brown needs to stomp the attitudes out of some players.
yeah, I mean, look, Thomas Brown's a no-nonsense guy. So, listen, if that means he needs to bench some players, like, if I'm Thomas Brown, I'm leaving my mark here. Whether I get the gig long-term or not, like, I'm leaving my mark here. So, you know, I know he made a few plays yesterday, had a good coverage in the end zone, forced the fumble, but, like, if Tyreek Stevenson's giving you issues, do you bench him for, like, I think anything could be on the table in some of those regards. Just some guy, whoever the next head coach is, get a winning coach. Yep. If it were that easy. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the talent's here. At least a good, like, start. There's still some things you got to figure out, but I think the quarterback's here. You got to get the right coach. Jim Harbaugh is a great example, and I don't know if a Jim Harbaugh is out there. I don't know. He's a great example, Colin, of even if the roster isn't quite where it needs to be, you can win right away. You may not win the Super Bowl, but, like, you could be a good team right away. I don't think the Chargers roster is better than the Bears. Now, Justin Herbert versus rookie Caleb, like, yeah, that helps. But, like, I mean, they had to cut Mike Williams and trade Keenan to the Bears just to get under the salary cap. Like, they were having to shed money. So, you get a high enough level coach, you can turn some of these tough losses into wins pretty quickly. And Thomas Brown's going to get a chance to do that. He's interviewed with 3 head coaching opportunities before. He interviewed with the Dolphins in 2022, Texans in 23. I believe the Titans brought him in twice. I think he was a finalist before they went with Callahan. So that's notable. We know about the Sean McVay endorsement. This guy has risen up the coaching ranks quickly after his short NFL playing career. Running backs coach at several places, strength and conditioning coach, which I think is pretty interesting. He was an OC at Miami. Didn't call plays there, but in a short sample size this year calling plays, it's looked pretty good. Obviously, his most notable time was with the Rams. He was made assistant head coach at 35 years old, and that was the year they won the Super Bowl, held that title for another year. Gets the Panthers OC gig, wasn't calling plays, then he was, then he wasn't, then Wright got fired. That was just kind of a train wreck. Bears interview him for the OC opening. He doesn't get it, but he gets the pass game coordinator title, interim to OC, and now the interim head coach. I mean, what a few weeks for that guy. And if you have never seen it before, this is the quote from McVay. This was when Brown was on staff at the time, so this is a few years ago. He said, "He's got such a unique, educated, and impressive thought process as it relates to a lot of things outside of football. That's why he's also the assistant head coach. I heavily lean on him with some things where he runs some leadership group meetings. He has a great pulse for the team. He's one of the greatest competitors I've ever been around. He's got such a great disposition. He's very matter-of-fact, secure of himself, demanding of his guys. They need that. Anytime that you're a great coach, you have a big picture perspective, and he's always had that." So, look, I don't know if Thomas Brown is the right guy. I don't know if he's going to be a high-level head coach in this league. I'm excited to see him to get this opportunity, though. I'm excited for, whether it's fair or not. I'm glad the Bears are just throwing the kitchen sink at this guy, and I'm assuming, he accepted it with open arms. I don't think they can't force him to take the promotion, but, of course he's going to take it and see what he can do with it. So, yeah, biggest 5 weeks of his career. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Alex Ammerling, we just crossed $400, by the way, so I'll get another beer bong racked. He said, I would be down with Vrabel. This team needs some goddamn discipline. Facts. Facts, facts, facts. I'd be cool with Vrabel. He's on my he's near the top of my list.
Yeah. I'll join you as well, brother.
Got Michael.
Does Brown stay in the booth? Has a head coach ever done that?
No, he's not going to be in the booth. And I know that was some people's concern,
Appreciate you.
but I think the reward outweighs the risk there. I've seen enough good from Caleb this year. I think he's going to be fine, regardless of how these next 5 weeks play out. You need to see what Thomas Brown can do as the head coach, which is on the sideline. So that's just the way it is. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. We're here live on a Friday. If you're just joining us, my car was packed to travel to go see my family as the news came in. So I'm here instead, postponing that drive. That's how much we care about this crazy team. So appreciate you guys for being here. Shout out to Colin for driving in as well. Cheers. Knocking out another beer bong in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah. Now listen, I'm here for it. Shout out to Harry. Listen, shout out to the Grahams as well.
Yeah, I actually have to make a call real quick. If you can hold this down.
Yeah, here, let me get everything set up. But, yeah, I gotta hold it down. Just let me know.
Yeah, just give me a sec. Appreciate it.
For sure. In case you're just joining us and you live under a rock, Matt Eberflus has been fired. And Thomas Brown is going to take over as the interim head coach for the Chicago Bears. This came after Eberflus had a early morning press conference in which he took questions from Bears media on a Zoom link that you only could get if you had the link, obviously. And, yeah, man, it was it was just unbelievable, man. It really is. So, yeah, we got the news. We got everything ready. And shout out to all y'all for coming through. It's incredible, man. It is honestly incredible. J-Dubs, when's the 24-hour stream for the Flus firing? I'm not sure if Harry ever made that a thing, but I'll ask him when he gets back. Here's a question, too, that I want to ask. Let me get up here. I'm just going to make it this, to be honest. Because Ryan Poles still is the general manager. What's your confidence level? A, in just him and him being able to do his job, but also to him making the potential next right hire. I'll kind of pose it as this. DC Viper saying 1, Jaden saying 8, Dominique saying 8, Ivory saying 3, we got Gabe saying 5, Jaden saying 8, Soldier Bear saying -20, Blake Williams 8, Top Shot of 6, Ziganji 7.75. If I can talk, BB Gun saying 7, Bailey 7.6, Michael saying 7, Nolan 4, Roy saying 1, Taylor saying 2, Michael saying 2, Edvis saying 5, Mr. Cotton Wax saying 6.9. Nice. I'll say this. In terms of a confidence level, I'll give him like about a 5.2. Because the thing is like, I don't know everything behind the scenes. And Harry doesn't know every single thing that has happened behind the scenes in terms of what was allowed with Eberflus, whose decision ultimately was to bring it back. I mean, there's a lot of just everything that was said. We don't know the full context of everything. From what we do know, I'm not completely sold in terms of like, he for sure is going to get this right. Like, whoever he hires, I'm not 100% sure it's going to be the right decision. What I can say is that he's at least proven enough to where, okay, they fired Eberflus, they got him out of the building. They fired Shane Waldron. I don't believe they're going to fire him. So I give him enough confidence to say, hey, I'll let you make another move, but every move now that he makes from here until the potential end of his tenure is going to be looked at under a microscope. And I just feel like he's about a 50-50 shot in terms of whether he's going to get it right or not. So I'm going to go 5.2. 5.2 for me. He's good at getting players, but not good at knowing what these players can do for your team from Cannibal Dragon. I mean, yes and no with that. Like, I mean, he's had his misses, he's had his, hits and everything, but no GM's going to be perfect in that regard. Simply Life today. I just figured out why Flus did not use our last time out in the final seconds. He didn't want to lose because of another blocked field goal. Oh, man, the memes are flying in today. Where do we stand with the new stadium? TBD. TBD. So we got another super rolling in here. Yeah, you're good. Oh, really? I'm not hitting on Thomas. If he balls out, keep him. No, I mean, hey, listen. I think there's always risk with hiring an interim head coach because sometimes you get that initial rush of a new voice in the building. He obviously has proven that he's a solid play caller at bare minimum. And look, if he, goes on a roll here and let's just say he goes like 3-2, like he goes positive and everything, he should 100% be in the interview process. Like he should, take meetings with Kevin Warren, Poles, etc. But whomever the Bears decide to hire, do your due diligence on. Really dive in. And preferably, I'll state the obvious. Unless it's Vrabel, which again, he's defense, but he's kind of more of a culture guy. I really think the Bears need to go offense. I really do. To maximize Caleb. I mean, the league's trending offense. A lot of offensive coaches tend to do well in terms of the percentage of offensive coaches versus defense/special team coaches that make the playoffs every year. I mean, it's staggering. We'll have to potentially make a video on that at some point, but I just think they have to pivot from defense. That's just my opinion. Thoughts on John Gruden for head coach? They're not doing it. But FGB though, Wally. FGB. Watch them go full defense again. That would be, if you go with defense, Vrabel would be the only guy that I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can like close yourself off, but if you go defense, it better be, I don't know, you better have the right OC, and it better be a big time alpha as the head coach.
Yeah.
Like I like Brian Flores, but like, can he connect with Caleb? I mean, Tua hates the guy. That's going to be a legitimate question with Flores for any team. Can he vibe with the quarterback? So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Someone asked if we were doing a 24-hour stream for the Flus firing.
No. That was a one-time offer, and the threshold wasn't met, and I got to go see my family here in a little bit. So,
yeah.
Let's do this, guys. Last call on Super Chats. We're at $407. I'll tell you what. Do you have a shot clock over there?
I can get a shot clock.
If we cross 500 in the next 5 minutes, we'll keep this going a little bit longer. What I do want to do is log off here in a little bit, put a list together for potential Thomas Brown or Matt Eberflus replacements for 2025. That way we can have that video out for you guys this weekend, whether it's tomorrow or the next day. So if you guys want to keep it rolling, we can. If not, no worries. We'll put a 5-minute shot clock on here. But like I said, I mean, I literally had the car packed and we were leaving to go see my side of the family. But we're gonna do that in a couple hours. So we do have some time. And There you go. In the meantime, we can answer some hashtag Bears questions as well.
There is one that did not get in the mailbag that I went back and looked. I want to get your take on it because I'm actually curious to know the answer to this too. So let me see if I can find it real quick. I also want to give this person credit for the question they sent in. Trying to find it.
Get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Fire away. Hashtag Bears.
Why are we talking about Zach Wilson in the chat?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
That is what's going on in these college games? Let's
Yeah.
see. Oh my God, Colorado's beating Oklahoma State 38-0. That might be the end of the Mike Gundy era. Shador
Hopefully.
Sanders 368 and 4 touchdowns.
Oklahoma State just needed a reboot for
Yeah.
a minute.
I think it was close last year, but then they rallied and make the Big 12 title game. But yeah, I think it's I think that's done. Travis Hunter 2 touchdowns. He also has a pass breakup and an interception.
Of course.
Heisman.
Heisman.
Boise. I didn't realize Boise State was playing Oregon State today. They're up 27-18. Boise is. Ashton Genty, 185 yards and a touchdown. Hunter's going to win. Genty's going to be runner-up. Is Ward the third guy?
Probably because of his stats, like he accumulated.
I mean, maybe Shador gets invited too.
yeah.
Maybe those are the 4 that get invited.
All right. I can't find it, but
That's okay if you remember what the question was.
so what are we doing with the Fire Matt Eberflus petition?
So, 1 page front and back, 2 pages front and back, 3 pages front and back. This is 3 columns on each side, by the way. 4 pages front and back. This was page 5, so page 9, first column basically filled. I don't know. What should we do with it? Should we shred it? Should we frame it somewhere? You guys let me know. What should we do in it?
Yeah. Down in the comments.
Someone says frame those papers and slap them on the wall. What should we do with it? Raffle it? Frame it?
I'd say, do we do like a duck race at the end of the stream? See who gets the petition.
Does anyone want it? I mean,
He said send it to. People are saying send it to Flus.
I'm not doing that. Like, once it's over, it's over.
Yeah. Had a great run though.
Had a good run, no doubt.
Got some supers coming in. From why I haven't been this happy since we fired Nagy.
Isn't that sad? The best parts of the Bears in recent years have been when they've made a coaching change. Can we get this right? Can we get this right? Come on, man. Let's get this right. Andres, turn the petition into a sell the team petition instead. That's not going to happen. Not them actually selling the team part, but I hear you. I hear you. Michael, hoping Kyle Shanahan becomes available. If he becomes available, you need to be throwing the kitchen sink at that situation. If you beat him this week, next week, that could help the cause.
Never hurts.
Never hurts. All right. Shout out to Michael.
Yeah.
Shout out to Michael. Final minute on the shot clock. $80 away from 500. If we don't get there, we'll sign off. Gonna get a quick batch of head coach candidates together, and we'll film that, publish that sometime this weekend, and then we'll call it a weekend. Colin's got to get back to his family. I got to get to my family. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Tons of Bears fans and Bears fans are everywhere, man. Bears fans are everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Kyle would be perfect for Caleb's future. I'll give Shanahan my wife if he comes here from Micah Vaughn. Jesus.
That's funny.
Bears fans are desperate, man. If Thomas Brown wins the remaining games, would you stamp him as head coach? I mean, he'd definitely be heavily considered, I would think. We'll see. We'll see what he does. 45-0 Colorado. Good God. train wreck. Pick 6. Dude, this is bad. Early 4th. I mean, this could be a 50 or 60 burger. All right, Cullen, thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to all you for tuning in to this emergency breaking news live stream. It is over. Matt Eberflus is out. Thomas Brown gets his shot. We'll see what he can do with it. We got 9 days until the Bears play the Niners, so a lot of time to prepare for that game. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Enjoy some football, and you can sleep easy tonight knowing that Matt Eberflus is no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down. FGB as always. We'll see you guys soon.